So our next stop is to talk about arrays. Um, I'm going to create a new page for that so we can quickly look at what arrays are. I'll close all this and come into our test page, test folder, and create a new page and call it arrays.php. I'll create my PHP tag and then say for arrays. Okay, so we've already talked about variables, and in our video that we mentioned variable, we said variables are like containers that can hold any kind of value you want. In PHP, you don't have a restriction to the type of value you can put in a variable. So the same variable can be used to hold the data type integer or data type string or data type boolean. It can be used in that way and it can be changed. So that's all about the PHP variables. But when it comes to array, an array is like a variable, but it can hold multiple values. Our typical example of a variable is we have a single variable that holds this value, and even if I did this is me adding another value to this variable. Basically, this is still a single value because if I print this out, say I do a print last name, I would be getting a single value. And if I try to access this single value here, it's going to be a lot of audio jumping before I can do that. So an array allows you to have multiple variables, multiple values in a single variable. Okay, this is an array here. And an array stores multiple values in a single variable. That's just the easiest way to explain it. To create an array, unlike in variable, you just start this way. For an array, you need to do, let's say you have array example, this. So this is an empty array. This is an array that is empty. Okay, let's see. So I have a array example 2 Mike. So this array contains a single value, and the value is Mike. Let's see. I'm just going to duplicate this because typing everything again is taking time. So my third example, I'm going to say Mike. I'm going to add 3 here, then I'm going to say orange. This array has no value in it, so the count of the values in this array is 0. The count of the values in this array is 1 because it has one value in it, one item in it. The count of the values in this array is 3 because it has 3 values in it. So you can see I have a string here, I have a number here, and I have another string here. I could even have a boolean in here somewhere. Okay, of course, that's not. Okay, so this is a boolean in the same variable. Now I can access any of these values in this array by referring to the position of any of them in this array. Let's see what our resource says. Okay, they are trying to do it with no explanation. So there is a little explanation of what an array is, and so on and so forth. You can, of course, read that. You can check the length of an array. I'm going to try that now to show you how it works. Right, so let me just show you that. For this now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 items in this array. When it comes to arrays, there is something called the index, which is the position of an element or item in the array. I'm going to comment that. I'll be pushing my code to GitHub today because the video will be going live soon, so that you can have it there to check it out. Okay, so the index position of an item in the array is the position of that item in that array. And when it comes to arrays, we start from position 0. We count from 0 upwards. We count from 0. So let me just explain what I mean. In array example 3, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items in it. The items index are Mike is on index 0, 3 is on index 1, orange is on index 2, and true, which is a Boolean value, is on index 3. So even though this array has 4 elements in it, there are only 0 to 3 indexes available. So if I wanted to get the value of the first value of this array, I would do something like print array dot array, then the index position. This prints out Mike, because I'm saying give me the array at this index position, which is the first item here. If I wanted to print out, say, my Boolean value, I will go to the last item in the array, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, which is 3. This prints out true. Now, it's also possible that I print out the length of an array, which is to say, sometimes you're writing a loop or any kind of loop, and you want to go through each item in this array, but you have no idea the length of the array or the amount of elements available in the array. So if you wanted to print out the count of all the elements in this array, you would do something like count array. So this will print that is 1, 2, 3, 4. This print out 4 because the count of the elements in the array is 4. So if I wanted to get the last element in this array, in an array, unknown array, say I'm given a code to write and I'm given an imaginary array and I'm told to print out the last element in that array, this is what you will do. Print, say my array is the imaginary array, I'm going to say, so I have an imaginary array, forgive my spelling if it is wrong. I'm going to print out, let me just write it, then I will explain what it does. -1. So what this means is there is an array, it is imaginary, I'm just creating it so you would know at least it exists. I'm going into that array, I'm trying to fetch a particular index of that array. The question is fetch the last item in the imaginary array. Again, forgive the spelling, I think it's wrong, I'm not entirely sure. Let's wrap our code so you'll be able to see well. Okay, so I'm trying to fetch the last item in my imaginary array. Well, I'll check it later. This is the array, just like we have done here. We are supplying the index of the item we want to print, which is in this case Mike for this here. But if you want to get the last item in the array, it means it will be the count of all the elements minus 1, because the index of the array is always the total index of the available elements in the array is always 1 less than the total count of the elements in the array. That's a mouthful, so let me just try to break it down. If I'm going to comment that if an array has 4 elements, like we have up there, our example 3, then the highest index would be 3, because we are counting the index from 0 to 3, even though there are 4 elements in it. So that's what I just did here. I'm getting the count of all the elements available in this array, and then I'm subtracting it by 1, which means this statement here will give me the last element. Let's try it. Well, you can try it on your own. I'm not going to run this code. It's just simple. If you try it for this now, I can bring this here and do this, and you can be sure that you'll get I will get my last element, which is true. And likewise, I can print out the first element uh, of an array without actually knowing the total element available in the array, by just saying print out the element on index 0. That would always be the first element in the array. So why did we talk about array now? Because we'll be creating our login form soon, and when the form is submitted, it will be an array, and you will need to access each submitted value from that array to use for your work. So of course you can still come back here to learn more about arrays. There's when we talked about the index of an array, there's something called associative arrays, that is multidimensional arrays. We talked about this. You will also see some other reference. There are some other ways to create arrays like this. Okay, in PHP you can do that. You could also there are multiple ways actually. I mean, you could do this to have the array stated, then add the values. This is what I mean. I can do something like this. I can say array example. This is example 4. Yes. I can say it's an empty array or say array. This is still PHP, is still correct. And then say for array 4, my index on 0 should be shade, and index 1 should be my surname, which is Ifadi. Index 3 should be my username, which is Alex. I mean index 2 should be that. So this array, if I print out this array now, print array 4, I'm going to get this shade. Of course, it's uppercase, and then finally you can't see that. I think it's outside of the recording range. So if I print this out now, I'll be getting this. I wonder why this is throwing an error. Oh yeah, I need to terminate this. Don't forget in PHP you need to always terminate. So basically that's what arrays are. We'll be using our array in the next video.